What's up, everyone? Ooh, boy, do I have a stream for you all tonight. Shout out to Fade Runner. Dog, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different news pieces for you tonight. And I hit Fade Runner up just to see if I was missing anything, just to dot my I's, cross my T's. This man hit me with 3 big geeking stories to bring y'all. So, shout out to Fade Runner. Let me bring some of this over here. Because this stuff is nuts too. This is completely throwing my my segue off too. Because there was an order I was going to do this stuff in. And now, whoo boy, this is a lot. This might actually, I've said it before, and it was a lot then, but now, honestly, might be the most news that I have done in a single stream. I'm also going to, as you've seen, no doubt, from the stream title and the hashtags, I will be talking about Keith Davis Jr. again, because I feel like it's important. I mean, I feel like pretty much all the stuff I talk about on here is important, but Keith Davis Jr. is actually someone from the same place that I'm from and is a relevant local current event for me. So, you know, I feel like it's important to continue to talk about, and it goes along with my whole, you know, my theme. So, wait for 1 or 2 people to hop in on here, and then we'll get right to it, shall we? Let me reorder some of these, because I feel like there's a good order to do these in. Thank you for the like, Wayne. All right, that should go. There. We are out here for sure for 1,000. What up, Kuma? What is up? All right, got a couple people in here, so I'm just going to set it. I'm going to go ahead and start the news, set it off here. Once again, shout out to Fade Runner. Also, shout out to Jenna for providing me with tonight's heat that we'll be talking about. There she is. What's up, Jenna? What's up, Fade Runner? We're going to be talking about, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about Keith Davis Jr. yet again. I'm going to continue to talk about that more than likely. At some point, maybe next Friday or the Friday after that, I haven't decided. I want to do another fundraiser where I want to donate all of my donos that night to the Keith Davis Jr. cause. I'll get that situation figured out by the weekend, I'm sure. But yeah. Other than that, let's get into what we got going on here. So, let's see. How long is this? 7 minutes long.
Tommy.
This first story. Here, I'll blow it up for you. This first story, this is from Twitter. This is a Fade Runner. Shout out to Fade Runner for showing me this. We're going to check this out. Hang on. Let me bring all of my stuff back where it was. Okay, cool. Cool beans. All right, so what we got going on here is a little bit of this action.
You have designed a big
I appreciate you, Jenna.
Had people try to go up and over it.
I feel that this is the Lamborghini of walls.
It's got a very aesthetic look to it.
The Lamborghini of walls.
So this is a story
aesthetic.
about an individual called Tommy Fisher. He built a 3-mile wall. The next step was, can I sell it? That hasn't happened yet.
And what was it like to have the president check out the
That's
prototype
funny, Fade
today?
Runner.
The larger it is, the better it is.
That's
because
funny.
It's very hard to get over the top.
He completed
The larger
wall
it is, the
in
better.
early
Oh,
2020,
God.
and since then has been embroiled in various lawsuits. It's one of a kind.
The man trying to sell a bridge, I mean a border wall.
This is no ordinary border wall. There are 3 things notable about it. 1, it's located in the Rio Grande Valley, home to more illegal border crossings and more seized cocaine and pot than anywhere else in the country. 2, it's located directly on the banks of the Rio Grande River,
Hold on, let me
where
just,
for legal and environmental reasons, construction of a border wall has never been attempted.
Why would you risk bringing shitty weed into America where we have the best weed on the fucking planet, like by far? Other than like some secret shit that some monks in fucking China or something have. You know what I mean? Some monks in Mount Everest have the dankest of the sticky icky that you have ever even not heard of. Short of that, America probably has a stranglehold on the best. BC Bud, fuck out of here with BC Bud. America, baby. This is America. Fuck BC Bud. Bud, yo, they fucking is weed even legal up there? Remember Seeds and Stems? I don't remember Seeds and Stems. Dog, you're talking about BC Bud in Amsterdam. This is the United States of fucking America, the most hyper-capitalist fucking country. If you think that we don't have weed that will literally get you chemically dependent upon it, you are just, I don't know what to tell you. America, I'm not even saying this as a patriot or as a fucking on any type of jingoistic bullshit. I'm just being realistic about the fact that America loves the corner of the market on that kind of shit, and I would wager a considerable amount of money. Matter of fact, why don't we do this? Hang on. Let's look up the Bud Cup, right? Because first of all, I'm pretty sure they moved the Bud Cup or the Cannabis Cup to the United States of America from Amsterdam. So that should tell you right there. Hold on, let's just as a quick aside before we continue with what we got going on. Yep, there it is. Yep. So they moved the Cannabis Cup to fucking Oklahoma. They moved the Cannabis Cup to Oklahoma. Let that sink in, bro. It's knocking at the door. It's cold. It's freezing. You need to let it in. So, anyway, I got distracted there. Let's continue with this goofy-ass border wall.
It's privately owned by a guy from North Dakota named Tommy Fisher.
Stop!
Action system.
This man's not even near the border. He's in fucking North Dakota spending 30 fucking milli on a border wall that looks like he made it in Minecraft. Come the fuck on, dog. The memes are this easy? This is the world we live in? Come on now, bro.
Behind me, located about 2 miles south of Mission, Texas.
Tommy Fisher built a 3-mile
Weed
long,
ain't green, it's red, white, and
funded
blue. Yeah.
border wall. Most of the land is privately owned, ranchers, farmers, individual homeowners. It's on the banks of the river, which already serves as a natural barrier and also makes it extremely difficult for legal and geographic and environmental reasons to build anything.
To me, when you see it stand up and it'll last the test of time, that's just my feeling.
Tommy Fisher is Midwestern nice. He doesn't see his wall as an object of exclusion.
I'm for legal immigration. Illegal immigration, I'm not.
Oh, he's a
He
liberal.
sees it
Oh,
as
surprise, surprise.
a law enforcement aid. More than that, he sees it as a business opportunity.
I think when President Trump came into office, it gave me an idea that he wanted a very long, linear project, something that was never built in the history of America. So it was more of a catalyst to say, hey, could their project of this magnitude really be built?
Joining us now for a reaction is a CEO who submitted one of those prototypes.
The first time any private organization has built border wall on private land.
Joining us to talk about all of this is Tommy Fisher.
Let me point out how this guy is a liberal. He thinks he's doing the right thing according to his ideology, according to his personal politics. He likes law enforcement. He wants to help law enforcement. He might not even think he's racist. He wants legal immigration, right? But why is it that OAN, Newsmax, Fox News, fucking Laura Ingraham, all these gamut, like running the gamut of the right wing from your milquetoast ass fucking Fox News talking head all the way up to your fucking Nazi pieces of shit like Laura Ingraham. Why is it that they would suddenly find this liberal and what he's doing to be so interesting and so awesome and just the talk of the walk, right? I just said this like 5 minutes ago. You scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. So let's continue.
Can I sell it and make back my money on it, or commission somebody to get me to do more of these?
After the 2016 election, Fisher mounted a right-wing media blitz to pitch his wall-building services in Washington and attracted attention from
right-wing
nonprofit
media
named
blitz.
We Build the Wall.
This is a
Founded
liberal
by
we're
triple
talking about.
amputee Iraq War veteran Brian Kolfage and Steve Bannon, who would go on
Steve
to give
Bannon.
Fisher $6.9 million.
We Build the Wall gave him several $1 million to build one structure, pretty short structure in New Mexico. They built it.
Encouraged by this first structure, Fisher starts construction on a second wall, this one near the Rio Grande, funded by We Build the Wall. The group sends him a first
crazy
payment
that they
of
actually built the
$1.5 million,
wall.
but then the payment stopped, and the legal troubles started.
Fast forward to summer of 2020, Bannon and his alleged co-conspirators are arrested for essentially defrauding their supporters. They're alleged to have run out of money, and they stopped sending money to Tommy Fisher.
Fisher wasn't implicated and decides to fund the rest of his walls.
Steve
using
Bannon
money.
looking like a guy who
Yet
gets
again,
bit and doesn't
project
tell the
is
rest of the
met with
team that
legal
he's
troubles.
infected.
He's sued by the federal government, which says you can't do that because you could screw with the Rio Grande River and it's going to move the U.S.-Mexico boundary. He's sued by a wildlife preserve called the National Butterfly Center, which says essentially you're going to flood our property and drown our butterflies.
The North American Butterfly Association was granted a temporary restraining order to stop construction of a border wall.
Fisher contested
fact that it had to
suits,
get this
and
far
even
to
as
stop
federal
this shit is
prosecutors
crazy to me.
hover around We Build the Wall, his company is given contracts to build federal wall sections in Arizona and Texas.
Fisher was granted over $2 billion in federal wall building contracts.
But then Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
But all of this doesn't stop Fisher
Bullshit.
from pushing for his wall. After Biden's election, Fisher's project gets renewed momentum from a growing crisis at the border.
This morning at the southern border, more than 15,000 migrant children are in federal custody.
Baby bottles and shoes, and we saw this
interesting.
all over along the border.
A group of 80 migrants, including many children, turned themselves in after making the dangerous trek.
Remember how they told you to vote for Joe Biden so that this shit could stop?
With a large
Remember that?
influx of migrants from Central America. And Fisher is arguing essentially that his wall is going to solve this issue. Fisher built his wall in South Texas because there is almost no federal wall that exists in South Texas at all. Almost all the federal wall that was built during the George W. Bush administration, the Obama administration, and the Trump administration is in California, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Us coming from America, we're a country of laws. I was always for that if we could
country
help,
of laws.
Assist that.
Never mind, this
and
dude might be a
help our
right-winger, not a
government, help
liberal.
every single American. You know, we want to be on the leading edge.
He successfully created a proof of concept, and he's trying to get Texas maybe to buy it, but at $20 million a mile, that's a tough ask.
My hope is that the new administration would come down and talk to the boots on the ground that could see something that was built on the Rio Grande that could have so many multiple purposes. Not only could it be for border protection, but it could also be for a public use, bike path, different things.
But some would argue that Tommy Fisher's 3-mile
Yeah,
wall
that's
does
a
not
bike
address
path.
the issue.
Very
The
scenic.
Government Accountability
Very
Office
scenic bike
testified
path.
that it had not developed any way of measuring whether border fencing had any effect.
There's this question, do border walls work? It's hard to say.
The answer to that question
Immigrants
is
seeking
no.
asylum, they're not trying to evade law enforcement at all. They're often walking right up to wherever the border fence is. So in that sense, no wall in Texas is going to address that issue.
Like, right-wingers literally believe, this is, I shit you not, this is what they believe. They believe that, like, hordes of, like, Latino people, like Mexicans, because all Latinos are Mexican to these people, right? They believe that there's just hordes of them, like, clown car packed into fucking, like, 1960s era fucking, like street cars. They're just hanging off the sides, stuffed to the rafters. You know what I mean? They're just showing up at the border and fucking jumping across, right? It's like when you play fucking freeze tag and it's safe, you know what I'm saying? You go to the home base. It's like the instant they cross that imaginary line, the federal government is just like writing them blank checks to give them $37 bajillion worth of taxpayer money with no credentials and no identification whatsoever. You just have to be brown and from down there somewhere. And as soon as you cross the border, then the government just hands you $1 billion in taxpayer money so that you can steal those same taxpayers' jobs by undercutting their wages, right? This is genuinely what these people believe. Crazy shit. So that was wild. He's mad. He can't sell his wall. He's super mad. And speaking of owners, people in the owner class who are big mad, let's check out something from... this should be pretty funny.
All kidding aside, I think it really is a matter of people deciding now that they have opportunities to do other things, and there is a shortage of employees.
The question is, how do you incentivize those that haven't returned to get back to work? We all know the answer to that question. Pay people a living wage, right? But you can't do that because you got to squeeze blood from a stone. You got to pay your workers as little as possible so that you can make as much as you can in profit, right? So let's continue.
People are looking to make more money and to bargain. And so I think your business and the tourist business is really going to be in a bind for a little while. One of the things, we're ending all those things that are the things keeping people back from going back to work, et cetera. It'll be interesting to.
So he's talking about ending the UI and all those things. Mind you, we're still neck fucking deep in a global pandemic, right? More people globally have died this year than all of 2020, right? He himself has said that we're in a pandemic of unvaccinated people with less than half of the country fully vaccinated, right? And they're already getting the ball rolling on sending all those people back to fucking work, right? But just like they have been this entire pandemic. So keep that in mind.
See what happens. But my gut tells me that part of it relates to, you can make a good salary as a waiter or waitress. One of my sister-in-laws is of 5 sisters, makes a very good salary. She works in Atlantic City. That's where she's from. But there's a lot of people who are looking to change their occupation. I think, but I could be wrong.
Well, let me ask you, because John is looking to hire people. He's got 39 restaurants across the country.
Don
Is there
Lemon,
anything you can do to help him out? I mean,
look at the fade.
He's got
crispy,
to
crispy fade.
Well, John.
Hold on. Let me back up for a second, just look at that fade, yo. Look at how crispy that shit is. Look at that perfect fucking gradient, yo. That's what you like to see. That's black excellence right there. Look at that crispy fucking with the curve right there. That's a fucking Fibonacci fade, yo. That is a fucking Fibonacci fade. I'm sorry, I just had to point that out.
I mean, he's got to get people in.
Well, John, first of all, the thing we did to help John and the Johns out is provide billions of dollars to make sure they could stay open. Number one. So you all contributed to making sure John could stay in business. And we should have done that, as we did for other industries.
This is a small business
But secondly,
owner?
John, my guess is that people being $7, $8 an hour plus tips, that's, I think, John, you're going to be finding $15 an hour or more.
Oh, they cut it off. But I mean, small business owns 39 restaurants. LMAO, yeah. While I'm on this topic, if you're in Maryland or in Baltimore, Fuck Atlas. Do not eat at any Atlas restaurants. Do not patron any Atlas establishments. They are pieces of shit. Also, fuck Sinclair Broadcasting. And I just wanted to throw that out there. But, yeah, so that's fun. President Biden telling people that you should probably pay people $15 an hour, which is not a living wage, by the way. As pointed out by a recent study, it's now $18 to $20 an hour that is a living wage. $15 an hour. Thank you for the like, Jelani. That's what's so sad about the fight for 15 is that it's been going on for so long now that $15 an hour isn't even a livable wage anymore. So, that said, let's go ahead and continue with this next story. Since we talked about COVID a little bit, let's talk about this fucking sad shit right here, because this is kind of nuts.
It's late February. Scott Rowe is one of them.
Here I am, recovering, getting out of here finally tomorrow. Am I going to get a vaccine? No.
Wild.
Why not? Because there's too many issues with these vaccines.
This father, former baseball coach.
And I just got into an argument with someone about this today. When you ask them what the issues are, they don't have an answer for you. They don't have an answer for you at all. It's literally just like, fucking Tucker Carlson told me I shouldn't get vaccinated because reasons. So, but even though Tucker Carlson is vaccinated, and we'll get to that in a minute because we have someone else who is pretty fucking ridiculous. Because I got some sports news today. How about that? That's a endless cemetery first. Got some sports news, so let's continue.
Small business owner and hunter caught COVID and then he developed pneumonia.
Before you got sick, if you would have had a chance to get the vaccine and prevent this, would you have taken the vaccine? Nope. So you'd have gone through this?
I'd have gone through this, yes, sir. Don't shove it down my throat. That's what's local, state.
You don't want the vaccine shoved down your throat, but you're cool with all them fucking tubes shoved down your throat? Come on, my guy.
No, they're shoving the fact that that's their agenda. The agenda is to get you vaccinated.
You know who Mr. Scalise is?
I know who Steve Scalise is very well.
Rowe, who is a Republican, late February.
Dude caught COVID and he almost fucking died. Man's almost died of COVID and is like, nah, I don't trust the vaccine. I don't want it. Nah, too many problems with it. To what end, though? So the guy that I was talking to today was trying to convince me that the vaccine is population control. I shit you not. Shove those tubes down my throat, brother. Shove those tubes down my throat, brother. So, nah, they genuinely think that the vaccine is a form of population control. Like we would kill people off in this capitalist hellscape. So here's the thing, because this dude that I was talking to today had no clue what the Tuskegee study was. Had never heard of it before, like was completely clueless. And I had to explain to him that when the government decides to do population control, they don't need to manufacture consent for it. They just do it and hope you don't find out about it. Which is why those sorts of things exist. And furthermore, as I've said on this channel a million fucking times, if the vaccine was population control, they would have dropped that shit on Africa and India and Latin America day one. That would have been a done deal. They would have done all the testing and everything in those areas. But for some reason, for some unknown, strange, completely foreign reason, those areas are the most vaccine deficient areas. And the first world, quote unquote, the Western, quote unquote, world, the bourgeois, upper class, European, and American countries, excuse me, we have the highest vaccination rates of the entire world. Funny, interesting. Wonder why that is. But anyway, let's get to this silly shit since we can, since we're already talking about COVID and vaccines. Let's get into the sports news, and we'll lead off with this dumb fuckery. Dak Prescott, when asked if he is vaccinated, said, "I don't necessarily think that's exactly important. I think that's Hipaa." And that means, no, I am not vaccinated. That's exactly what that means. Desus Nice had a funny take on this. Just adding a dash of Hipaa to the combo like parsley on an IG chef's plate. Oh my goodness. And this is even funnier right here. Just this meme knocked it out of the park with this one. This shit is fucking hilarious. The Marjorie Taylor meme defense. Yes, absolutely. You just say Hipaa and that just ends the That's the Karen defense. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're trying to say a bunch of fucked up shit. Like when I talk about Matt Gaetz being a pedophile, just allegedly. You know what I'm saying? I just say allegedly. Just sprinkled in there. I'm saying you gotta say allegedly. You know what I mean? When people ask you if you're vaccinated and you're an anti-vaxxer and you don't want to deal with the social stigma of being a fucking idiot, anti-vaxxer, you just say Hipaa. You know what I'm saying? Just sprinkle that Hipaa in there. Unless you're Marjorie Taylor Greene, that means you are vaccinated. Oh yeah. It really depends on what side of the aisle you land. If you're trying to appeal to liberals generally and you're asked if you got vaccinated and you just throw Hipaa out there, that means you're an anti-vaxxer. But if you're a right-wing fucking grifter and part of your grift for the last 6 months is to convince people that the vaccine gives you titties and makes you gay and fucking turns kids trans, and fucking alters your DNA, then when you're asked if you're vaccinated, you got to say Hipaa because nobody can know that you've had your DNA altered. You know what I mean? Oh man. Did I see in West Hollywood yesterday anti-vaxxers harassing doctors and cancer patients outside of a cancer center? That's where we're at now. That's what's hot on the streets right now for the anti-vaxxers, just fucking, harassing doctors and cancer patients. That's what we got going on. Wild. Truly wild. Before I do that though, shout out to Caroline. My homegirl Caroline had me geeking, one might say, with a clip that I'm going to share with you now before I continue with the rest of the news. I'm going to leave this tight little graphic up here because it's hilarious. I'll read it really quick for those of you who don't who can't read it because of chat. It's HIPAA, H-I-P-A-A. It protects health coverage for people who change jobs. It requires medical providers to give patients access to their personal health information, and it requires medical providers to protect the privacy of health information. And here we have HIPAA, spelled H-I-P-P-A, which requires medical providers to protect the privacy of health information, prohibits stores and restaurants from asking for proof of vaccination, prohibits stores and restaurants from requiring you to wear a mask, and prohibits anyone from asking you for any health information for any reason. And the history of the HIPAA is that it was a passed law by Congress and signed into law by President Bill Clinton in 1996. And HIPAA, its history is that it was invented by people on the internet during the COVID-19 pandemic. One of them is a real law, and the other one is completely made up bullshit by fucking crazy people who want you to die of COVID. And then here on the far right, we have a cute little baby hippopotamus here, which is also a real law and a real thing. So, there it is. Hardcore rich LA right wingers. California is California's got to be like Mad fucking Max over there. That shit's nuts. I salute to you if you've decided that California is where you're rocking. You know what I'm saying? That's just what you got going on, and that's how you're gonna move. So here's some lulz from one Red Marksman on the gram of Insta.
Question now. Mrs. Alexis Toon, you are live with the senator. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Senator. I am a proud Kentucky citizen, and I just wanted to tell you to get fucked.
Look at his face.
All right, we'll
He's so depressed.
to our next question for that.
Hell
We'll go
yes.
ahead
We
to
got to
our
run
next
that back.
question now.
We got to run that back. Look at this.
Mrs. Alexis Toon, you are live with the senator. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Senator. I am a proud Kentucky citizen, and I just wanted to tell you to get fucked.
Oh my God, that's perfect. Look at his face. Just look at his face.
Go ahead to our next question for that.
Oh, that's
We'll go
just,
ahead to
that's
our next
excellent.
question
That's
now.
truly excellent. Truly excellent. Comrade Alexis, yes. 07. Salute to Comrade Alexis. All right, so let's talk about some sports news. We got some sports news happening. Some interesting sports news, also related to COVID. Rick Dennison is out as Minnesota Vikings assistant after refusing the vaccine. After refusing to receive a vaccine for COVID-19, Rick Dennison is out as a Minnesota Vikings assistant coach, sources told ESPN on Friday. Dennison had served as the Vikings offensive lines coach / run game coordinator the past 2 seasons. In a statement Friday, the Vikings said they were still in discussions with Dennison about the league's COVID-19 protocols. Another coach in the league, New England Patriots co-offensive line coach Cole Popovich, also won't be with his team in 2021 in a decision related to the COVID-19 vaccine and NFL guidelines, league sources confirmed to ESPN. So this shit is literally just melting boomer right-winger brains. Like, the boomer remover is truly just absolutely zapping these people. The internet was like Promethean fucking fire for these guys, because this shit is nuts. They have these fucking right-wing boomers out here. They got these boomers out here fucked in 4K like Sarah J. It is absolutely fucking wild to watch. The vaccine is required for all Tier 1 staff, including coaches, front office executives, equipment managers, and scouts. Players are not required to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but will face strict protocols during training camp and throughout the season that vaccinated players will be able to forego. In a memo released by the league this summer, the NFL said any unvaccinated Tier 1 staff member must provide a valid religious or medical reason for not receiving the vaccine. Losing Tier 1 status prohibits coaches from being on the field and in meeting rooms and having direct interactions with players. The Vikings noted in their statement that Dennison does not have a vaccination exemption. Of course he doesn't. At least he could have put the effort in to make one up. You know what I'm saying? Be like, yeah, it's my religion. Jesus told me not to alter my DNA because I don't want to be entirely made of soy. I don't want to be an anthropomorphic fucking soy bean. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, bunch of football stuff you guys probably don't care about. So I'll move on to the next story, which is kind of cool. I might go ahead and get myself a Cleveland baseball jersey. I was always a Reds fan. I always loved the Cincinnati Reds. Always loved Ken Griffey Jr. Loved Sean Casey. You know what I'm saying? But I might have to get this Cleveland jersey because they have changed their name, ladies, gents, and esteemed guests. They have changed their name from the Indians with their offensive ass logo, and they are now the Guardians. Let's watch this. This looks interesting.
We are a city on the rise, forging into the future from our ironed out past. We are a city of fire and water, of trees and towers, built through generations of blue collars and the brightest scholars, and all of those who have worked harder.
They paid Tom Hanks to do this. They're not playing.
And set our sights on tomorrow. And this is our team that has stood with our city for more than a century, from Old Municipal to the corner of Carnegie. A team that has seen its own progress and prosperity. Its history flows like the river through the heart of this city. A history that has given us miraculous moments Moments that spanned years and others 22 games. Moments that broke barriers and moments that broke hearts. Moments that prove this is more than a game. We remember those moments as we move forward with change. You see, it has always been Cleveland that's the best part of our name. And now it's time to unite as one family, one community, to build the next era for this team and this city, to keep watch and guard what makes this game the greatest, to come together and welcome all who want to join us. We are loyal and proud and resilient. We protect what we've earned and always defend it. Together we stand with all who understand what it means to be born and built from the land. Because this is the city we love and the game we believe in. And together,
New Dr.
we are
Seuss
all
books.
Cleveland Guardians.
Cleveland Guardians. Let's go. Let's go. You love to see it. You love to see it. Is this going to bring justice to indigenous people? No, but it's not nothing. You know what I'm saying? As a baseball fan, it's something. And you're absolutely right, Fade. It's wild to me that they changed their name before Washington's football team figured out a new name for themselves. But I also I agree. It should be the Washington Monuments, so that the shorthand would be the Washington Mo's. And if you're from DC or the DMV, then, you know, it's perfect. It really is perfect. But they really went all out on that PR. They paid Tom Hanks and the Black Keys to provide the soundtrack for that joint. That was something. Something. Cleveland's team was known as the Indians since 1915. Wow. So that's pretty nutty. Washington is fucking stupid? Yeah, we know. We know. The Washington Warriors? Nah, Washington Monuments. So you can call them the Mo's. It's just too perfect. It really is just too perfect. Keep the logo. Yeah, I mean, if you call them the Washington Monuments, all you gotta do is flip the logo upside down. You know what I'm saying? You could still keep the logo. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm just reading chat because I haven't been doing a good job of reading chat. Vaccines equal communism? Yeah. Yeah, and shout out Al Gal, my pal, as well. Yeah. Shout out Kuma Bear. What's up, cuzzo? Shout out Big Richie Lizzie. Shout out Jelani. I appreciate you coming through. All right, so that's it for the sports news. We're going to get into some pretty wild shit again. Where do I even start with this? So the Texas Senate advances its bill to restrict how race and the nation's history is taught in schools. Now, this is kind of a long piece. If you guys want, I can read it, but what I thought I might do instead is very quickly consult the Twitterverse so that I can find some quick clips and some real quick snippets to show you. Hang on. Dylan Burns is talking about this, I guess. So here's one of the relevant things, because this article looks pretty long. So it also notes the bill notes that a teacher may not be compelled to discuss a particular current event or widely debated and currently controversial issue of public policy or social affairs. Teachers, according to the bill, also can't require or give extra credit for a student's political activism, which is wild to me. The new legislation proposed by Senate Republicans strikes entire sections of the House bill. It removes references to the teaching of a series of historical primary documents written by George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Frederick Douglass, Susan B. Anthony, Cesar Chavez, and Martin Luther King Jr., among others. Discussion of the civic accomplishments of marginalized populations have also been struck from the bill, including teaching on the history of white supremacy, the institution of slavery, and the Ku Klux Klan and the ways it is morally wrong. The history of Native Americans is also completely omitted from the Senate bill. Incredibly, Senate Bill 3 specifies that a teacher may not discuss current events or controversial issues of public policy or social affairs unless the educator strives to explore the topic from diverse and contending perspectives without giving deference to any one perspective. So this is that false equality shit that you see the media do all the time, where you're like, here we have a Black Lives Matter activist, and here we have a fucking police officer Klansman. Let's see what they both have to say, right? That kind of goofiness, right? Democratic State Senator Judith Zaffirini said during a Senate debate on the bill, how could a teacher possibly discuss slavery, the Holocaust, or the mass shootings at the Walmart in El Paso or at the Sutherland Springs Church in my district without giving deference to any one perspective? That's a very valid question. Very valid question. Here we go. Here's from the Huffington Post. Here's one of the valid pieces from the article. Let's watch that because that looks interesting.
In other news, this Friday, dozens of Texas House Democrats remain in our nation's capital, urging Congress to pass federal...
Hold on, let me pause really quick to say what's up. What's up, Castle Kingside? How you feeling? I hope you're doing well, brother. Thanks for coming and hanging out, bro. I'm just reading this news real quick, and I'm going to play some games after this. But right now is news time. It's some important stuff I want to talk about. Some local stuff, some worldwide stuff. Just, you know, these are the type of issues I like to talk about on here.
Legislation, a bill banning critical race theory in Texas classrooms, passed the Texas Senate here in Austin today. This would apply to Texas public schools, kindergarten through high school. Critical race theory is an academic discipline exploring the idea that the concept of race was created to suppress groups of people, and that in the United States, several systems, from slavery to the modern-day legal system, are inherently racist because they were created to maintain racial superiority. Mineola Republican Senator Brian Hughes says the bill would require a broad framework, but doesn't affect what is taught, creates a civics training program for teachers, and prohibits teachers from being compelled to talk about current events or controversial issues, among other things. Those against the bill argue that the bill would brush aside or whitewash history.
Our classrooms should be places for fostering a diverse and fact-based discussion of various perspectives. They're not for planting seeds for a divisive political agenda.
And let me again reiterate that when we're talking about diverse schools of thought, we're talking about chocolate versus vanilla. We're talking about baseball versus football. We're talking about football versus soccer. We're talking about Charmed versus Supernatural. We're not talking about white supremacy, okay? White supremacy is not a fucking valid worldview, all right? And if you think that for even a split second that a white supremacist has anything of value to offer you or the world, then shut the fuck up.
This legislation, while well-intentioned, unduly would restrict important but challenging conversations that otherwise should occur in classrooms. My opinion is based partly on the testimony of teachers who testified about the unnecessary pressure, intimidation, and uncertainty it would create for them. Trust our teachers, one testified.
That from the Senate floor today. The bill passed on an 18-4 vote in the Texas Senate. It, of course, now heads to the House, but without a quorum in the House of Representatives, no action can be taken. Now,
Texas is truly wild. Truly, truly wild. On that note, actually, while we're on the subject of Texas, hang on, because I haven't talked about this yet on stream. And I feel like I should probably talk about this really quickly before I continue with everything else that I got going on. So Texas is offering a bounty for women who get abortions. All over the country, restrictive abortion bans continue to be introduced at the state level. In Texas, a new bill goes one step further by incentivizing individuals to enforce the law with a $10,000 or more award to anyone who successfully sues someone providing or assisting a woman seeking an abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy. Even religious leaders who provide emotional and spiritual counseling to patients considering abortion could be liable under the law. So, yeah, this is pretty fucking terrible. It just completely fucking removes the bodily autonomy of people who have uteruses. And it's very bizarre to me that we live in a country where white men get to decide for black people what white supremacy and racism is. And people who do not have uteruses get to decide for other people who do have uteruses what they are allowed to do and not do with their own fucking bodies and their own gear that is inside of their body. So yeah, that's fun, very normal, very nice, very cool things. Speaking of white supremacy, as you know, I am not a fan of the police. One might say that I am anti-police. You may or may not hear me espousing a political desire to abolish the police as an institution. And part of the reason for why I feel that way is because you might also know that a significant portion of the police force are themselves white supremacists individually, on top of the police itself being a white supremacist institution. But that's a conversation maybe for another time. Don't really want to go too deep into that right now. I can if you guys would like, but not at the moment because I'm trying to make a point. Point being that we have yet another white supremacist getting kicked out of the military because he decided to say the quiet part out loud, honestly. Because being a white supremacist in the military is not actually wrong. It's just expressing white supremacist views is, you know. A prominent white nationalist has been kicked out of the U.S. military 3 months after a HuffPost investigation revealed he had joined the Air Force and graduated from basic training. Sean McCaffrey, 28, is no longer serving in the U.S. Air Force, spokesperson Ann Stefanik said in a statement Thursday. Information brought to the attention of his command after McCaffrey's enlistment led to an entry-level separation due to erroneous enlistment, Stefanik said without elaborating on the specifics. That means they got embarrassed that it came out that this dude was a fucking white nationalist because they probably knew. But it became a media circus, and therefore you can't have that blemish on the military's stellar record of inclusion and diversity and justice for people of color. But McCaffrey, who lives near Detroit and did not immediately respond to a request for comment, was a key member of Identity Europa. Ooh, nasty boys. He was actually in Identity Europa. Wild. A group infamous for its role in the deadly 2017 Unite the Right white supremacist rally in, drumroll please, Charlottesville, Virginia. So these are the types of people who are in the military and the police, just so you know. Although McCaffrey did not attend the Charlottesville rally, he was still very active with Identity Europa, traveling with its leaders to a white nationalist conference in Washington, D.C. in 2016. In the ensuing years, he remained a fixture on the far right, co-hosting a racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic podcast. Surprise, surprise. I should also note that the leaders of Identity Europa, one of them, Devin Saucier, I believe is his name, was the Nazi that was filmed punching a woman in the face. So, yeah, that's cool. McCaffrey joined the Air Force in late January and graduated from boot camp in March, as HuffPost first reported, even as the military underwent a historic stand-down order to address extremism in the ranks, a problem brought into focus by the prevalence of current and former military personnel taking part in the storming of the U.S. Capitol on January 6. So I should say, first of all, that it's there's a few things wrong with that. First of all, the fact that they needed to publicly do this stand down order to address the extremism in their ranks. The fact that it was that bad that they had to have a stand down order to deal with it, which is, second of all, PR. That's literally all it is. It's just PR to make it seem like they're doing something about a problem that, of course, we've always known existed, right? But now that it's in the mainstream media and with Trump, it's vogue to choose a side on that sort of thing. And when you're the United States military, you need all the positive PR you can get with your, like I said earlier, your stellar and absolutely scintillating record on treatment of people of color and your foreign policy. Yeah, so that's cool. And while we're on the subject of public officials who are participating in January 6th, check this fun one out. A DEA agent arrested for participating in January 6th Capitol riot by Trump supporters. A U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agent has been arrested for allegedly participating in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol by supporters of then-President Donald Trump. And it really makes you think about the war on drugs, right? Because you hear people that say they want to abolish the police talk specifically about the war on drugs when it comes to the prison industrial complex. One might even call it the new Jim Crow. There's a book actually called The New Jim Crow that I would recommend that you read, which deals directly with this concept. But the fact that this DEA agent, this person whose job it is literally to bust drug users and drug manufacturers and salesmen, which could really honestly all go into the same category. It is literally this person's job to lock these people up, right? Hunt them down, lock them up. And he is also enough of a Trump supporter to storm the fucking Capitol on the 6th, right? It doesn't really, it's, you know what I mean? 2 plus 2 should equal 4 in this category, but you'll still have people that believe 1000% that, you know, you have some good cops and you have some bad cops, even though you would not accept that in literally any other fucking profession, right? If you had firefighters that literally went around lighting people and property on fucking fire and pissing on the ashes, you would probably say those people and that institution needs to get the fuck out of here, right? It's not a very good firefighting force. You should probably get it the fuck out of here. And if you really cared that much about fire prevention or fire safety, establish something new and totally different, right? But with the police, for some reason, yeah, I mean, sure, they just once a day decide to fucking accidentally, coincidentally, fucking dump the clip into an unarmed black man in the streets. But, you know, it's just the cost of doing business to keep your local Dairy Queen safe from the hordes of brown people that want to rush in there with their COVID vaccines and their fucking homemade ghost guns to, you know, do terrorism. I don't know what the fuck these stupid people think, but a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agent has been arrested for allegedly participating in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol by supporters of then-President Donald Trump. The agent, Mark Sami Ibrahim, which is, I was not ready for that one, that is a curveball, allegedly flashed his badge in a DEA-issued handgun during the riot while posing for photos with those items. Photos of him doing so are included in a court filing. Oh my God, dude. What is this country, dog? What is this country? I don't understand it. I genuinely don't understand it. Authorities said he entered the restricted area around the Capitol and also climbed on the Peace Memorial at the foot of Capitol Hill. And he participated in a WhatsApp group Our WhatsApp group chat with at least 5 other law enforcement officers during the invasion of the Capitol grounds, the court filing said. Yeah. Back the blue, though. That filing also says that after Trump supporter Ashley Babbitt was fatally shot by a police officer inside the Capitol as she crawled through a window leading to the House of Representatives chamber, rest in peace, get fucking rolled up and smoked, Babbitt season, she was taken outside on a gurney and passed within steps of Ibrahim. A friend of Ibrahim's who was standing with him videotaped Babbitt as she was being moved past them into an ambulance, the filing said. Ibrahim subsequently posted that video to the WhatsApp group chat, the court filing said. Ibrahim, who lives in Orange County, California, naturally, was a probationary employee of the DEA at the time of the riot, so he was new to the squad. That should tell you something, that this motherfucker just waltzed in. They were like, yep, you seem cool. Here's a job. Here's a badge. Here's a gun. Go out there and lock up some black people. There you go. Which began after Trump urged attendees at a rally outside the White House to march to the Capitol and fight against the confirmation by Congress of the election of Joe Biden as president that day. He had given notice of his planned resignation several weeks before the invasion of the Capitol by a horde of Trump backers, according to the court filing. He was not on duty for the DEA and had no role as a law enforcement officer on the Capitol grounds, that filing said. That document also said that Ibrahim was on personal leave from the DEA when he traveled to Washington, D.C. So this motherfucker used his vacation days to mount up an insurrection with his fellow fucking righty boys. Wild. A friend of Ibrahim's told FBI agents that he went to the protest to promote himself while considering launching a podcast and cigar brand, the filing said. There had to be a grift somewhere, right? Otherwise, it just wouldn't be right-wingers, right? There had to be a grift somewhere, somehow. Cell phone data shows that Ibrahim arrived at the Capitol grounds at about 1:06 p.m. on January 6, about 13 minutes after a crowd began breaking down fencing barricading the grounds, and that 3 minutes later, he posed for several photographs in which he flashed and displayed his DEA badge and firearm. Very cool. Ibrahim's friend took these photos at Ibrahim's request, the court document says. Video posted on the internet shows Ibrahim at about 1:45 p.m. that day carrying a flagpole with a flag sporting a blue 5-pointed star and the words liberty or death, the court filing says. Nothing says liberty like fucking overthrowing your fucking democratically elected president because he's not racist enough. At the time, Ibrahim was about 400 feet inside the first set of fencing that had barricaded the Capitol. I'm not going to read the rest of this shit. I'm not going to hold you. This is long and I don't feel like reading it. You guys get the picture. Ibrahim denied that he displayed or exposed his DEA badge and firearm at the Capitol, the filing said. Specifically, Ibrahim stated, I had my creds, I had my firearm and my badge on me, but never exposed, not that I know of. Dog, he's getting charged with perjury. That is what's going to happen. He is getting charged with perjury. During his interview, Ibrahim acknowledged hearing the tear gas canisters going off. He said he heard the booms, the filing said. The friend, oh my God. Ibrahim also told the OIG agent that he went to the Capitol that day with a friend and relative at the friend's request, according to the filing. So this motherfucker took personal days to go do this insurrection and then didn't even have the balls to stand on it after the fact. He's like, I wasn't even going to go. My family and friends made me go. Ibrahim claimed that his friend had been asked by the FBI to document the event and that he went along with his friend to assist with that effort, according to the court document. The friend later told the OIG agent that Ibrahim crafted this story in an effort to cover his ass, and that the friend had never received any direction from the FBI to document the riot. According to Ibrahim's friend, Ibrahim went to the rally in order to promote himself, the filing said. Ibrahim had been thinking about his next move after leaving the DEA and wanted the protests to be his stage for launching a Liberty Tavern political podcast and cigar brand. Of course, as I said previously, it wouldn't be right-wing bullshit without the grift. The grift's got to come in there somewhere. It's got to be a money-making scheme. The finesse, the scam has to be in there somewhere, right? Fucking ridiculous. So, in relation to the cops continuing to suck, apparently this ex-NYPD cop, who is a Chinese prosecutor, was charged with stalking and harassing U.S. residents on behalf of China, which is wild. And honestly, I don't know how, I don't know. This is a CNBC thing, so I'm not going to hold you. I'm probably not going to read this, just because the anti-Chinese propaganda in this country is a little fucking ridiculous sometimes. So, just to talk about COVID really quick, just because I wanted to show this tweet to you guys. What is a COVID-19 vaccine breakthrough case? It's when a vaccinated person gets infected with the coronavirus. Health experts say such cases appear rare. And the tweet reply was, so rare that in Maryland, it has happened to 0.072% of people vaccinated. The data source is from the Maryland Department of Health. So, yeah. Get vaccinated. I've said this before on stream. If you don't get vaccinated, you actually are a terrible person and a fucking moron. So if you, for health reasons, can't get vaccinated, then I'm sorry. But I don't give a fuck about your religion. I truly do not. Fuck your religion. Get vaccinated. So yeah. On that note, let's talk about some lulz. Let's get some memes going. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor meme and Matt Gaetz, and how apparently their fundraising tour is actually destroying their money. That's fun. At the height of the controversy surrounding Representative Matt Gaetz and the revelations that he's under investigation for sex trafficking, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marjorie Taylor meme, one might call her, bet big on a nationwide joint fundraising tour with her embattled colleague. But new campaign filings show that not only did the gamble not pay off, but that the much maligned Republicans actually spent 4 times as much as they raised. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my God. Oh. Since Gaetz and Greene kicked off their joint fundraising committee with a May 7th event at the Villages in Central Florida, their campaigns and joint fundraising committee have posted a combined loss of $342,000. And according to recent filings with the Federal Election Commission, that joint fundraising effort, Put America First, reported only $59,345.54 in contributions. That is fucking amazing. That sort of meager haul would be fine for a dinner or one-time event, but Gaetz and Greene have reportedly held high-profile events and spent a whopping $287,036.19 to hold them, meaning they're in the hole by more than $225,000. That's fun. That's really fun. Oh my goodness. This shit is crazy. So that's fun. Let's talk about Matt Gaetz. Because he is a pedophile, allegedly. So a sugar daddy website linked to the federal probe says the GOP lawmaker never had an account on the site. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's watch this. I don't feel like reading all this shit. Is it going to load? Is it going to play? Or is it, what's going to happen here? Okay, I guess it froze. Cool. We'll see what happens when I refresh it. Busted ass Politico. That's cool, bro. Alright, so I guess I have to read this shit. A sugar daddy website linked to the sex trafficking investigation of Matt Gaetz publicly weighed in on the scandal, saying the lawmaker has never been registered on the site in search of young women. The unusual move by the website seeking arrangement put some distance between Gaetz and the accusation against him. The site had been caught up in the Gaetz case because it had reportedly been used by the GOP lawmaker, and another key player in the case to connect with an underage girl for sex. Yikes. Oh, they're covering their own ass because they fired someone. Okay. They just don't want the PR for being a part of the Gaetz scandal. That's what I'm gathering from this based on the other stuff that I'm reading here. Interesting. So, now it's time for some local news. This last piece, and then I'm going to go into the Keith Davis Jr. story yet again. So, yeah. So, Governor Hogan's administration clarifies apparent extension of the state of emergency. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan signed an order this week that appeared to extend the COVID-19 state of emergency just days after announcing he was ending it. His administration clarified today that the state of emergency is still set to expire on August 15th. I don't feel like reading this. So there's that. That's disappointing to hear. I mean, Maryland has gotten fucked in 4K like Sarah J by COVID. The amount of deaths that we've had is pretty fucking gnar. In fact, hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. So, as you can see, we are on an uptrend yet again. Crazy amount of deaths, crazy amount of cases. New cases on the uptrend. Deaths are holding pretty steady. But let's just look at new cases just for the last week. So yesterday we had 303 new cases. It's pretty nutty, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. I stopped wearing my mask for a minute after I got vaccinated, but all the stuff I've been hearing about Delta and now Lambda, and knowing that less than half of the country is fully vaccinated, and knowing that variants, especially come this winter, are going to be insane. Yeah, I'm definitely wearing my mask again in public. So, with that said, my last piece of news that I want to talk to you about is, once again, the Keith Davis Jr. story. I probably should have done... Oh, wait. Before I do that, because Wayne, Fade Runner...
We must seize the means of production.
Stop it, Vlad.
We must seize the means of production.
Stop it, Vlad. You know the rule. If you want to regulate something, go regulate the mess in your room. It seems a big part about being a mom these days is helping your kids unlearn the crazy ideas they're exposed to in the world.
Mom, I just found out that if I run into the TV fast enough, I'll become a cartoon.
Nope, that will kill you. And it's not just normal kid stuff either. Now, my kids are being told by the media and even the school system that socialism is great.
Mama, if we just get rid of all these successful people, we'll finally be happy.
No, honey, that just means we'll all be poor. I want
We're
to teach my
already
kids
all
right,
poor,
but it is so hard to find age-appropriate material to teach them about the principles of freedom. The blocks are the supply, and when people want them, that's demand.
Is that what Dad meant when he said you're too demanding?
Hold up. I genuinely thought she said the blacks. I'm sorry. My mind was in a completely different. I'm sorry. I'll just continue.
Luckily, I now have the Tuttle Twins to help us. The Tuttle Twins is a series of books written for freedom-loving parents that teach correct principles about free markets in clear and relatable stories. You know, clear and relatable, so opposite of socialists. With over 2 million copies sold, these books are the best way to teach your child real-world topics not covered by most school curriculum.
Mom, I demand cookies. There's no more supply.
Oh.
This is
So
real,
if
Kuma.
you have offspring and don't want them supporting socialism, then click the link and order the Tuttle Twins books today.
Well, you got to get some non-white people in there. You got to get some racially ambiguous people in there. I'd like to reiterate that absolutely none of the people who are as anti-socialism as this actually know what socialism is. And if you press them on it, they will literally just describe capitalism to you. Case in point, the guy that I was arguing with today, I told him that he didn't know what socialism is because he doesn't know what socialism is. He literally just has the fucking typical American capitalism viewpoint, the propaganda viewpoint that socialism bad, capitalism good, and socialism is just anything that I don't like, and capitalism is actually things that you do like and everyone enjoys. Because he was like, yeah, these new hires at my job, because he asked me how I would run a business, and I said I would run a workers' co-op, clearly, obviously, which is that everybody more or less makes the same amount of money, everybody works the same, everybody owns a piece of the pie, right? And he launched to a thing about how his business is pissed off because all these new hires are making the same amount of money he makes. And I said, number one, you should probably organize with your coworkers to demand higher wages. That's what I would do. But also, number two, you are literally describing capitalism. That is what you're describing. It's literally just capitalism. You're telling me about capitalism and why capitalism sucks. Yeah, they think socialism is foreign. They don't think it's overly complex. That's actually very simple. They reduce it very easily. Socialism is just when the government owns everything and controls your whole life and everybody's poor. Which is, and just like I was saying today, everybody already fucking is poor. Minimum wage is not a living wage. Half of the country lives paycheck to paycheck, right? Something like 97% of the stock market is owned by 3% of the population, right? Some crazy ass number like that. Everybody already is poor, right? So that's that. And even if, let's say the other bit was true as well, that socialism is when the government owns everything and controls everything. So at least in that scenario, conceivably, in an ideal world, you would be able to vote in the government. You would at least have a say in what the government does with everything that it owns, including you, right? What the fuck are you going to do if corporations own everything? Which is exactly the final conclusion of capitalism, excuse me. That's the final conclusion of capitalism, which is where the people with the most money are the ones who own everything and we just rent from them. Whether you're talking about places to live, which is happening right now with all these companies buying up all this land and all of these homes to rent out. Whether you're talking about vehicles, everything. You will not own anything, right? This is the world that they say that they're afraid of under socialism, that the government owns everything, is the world that they're headed towards, right? You won't own video games. You have the license to use the video games, which can be revoked from you at any reason, for any time, at any time, for any reason, right? We're already there with software, right? The apps on your phone, the video games you play, the apps you use on your computer to do whatever work you might do, you don't own that shit. You do not own that shit. That shit is owned by the people who made it, and you have paid for a license to use that shit, right? And the actual owners of that shit, they can decide for any reason at any time, nah, you're good. You don't need this anymore. And we're keeping your money too. That already exists in the world of cyberspace. And they're working super fucking hard to make that apply in the realm of meat, right? And the alternative to that, right? Because the way that society is set up, if you can't afford to have these things, right? If you can't afford to rent a home, if you can't afford to rent a vehicle, if you can't afford to do these things, then you're going to end up on the street. You're going to end up poor. And what happens to you there? You're probably going to wind up in jail. And that's where you become a literal slave to the state, because the one thing that we do have socialized in this country is slavery. The state owns people as property through the prison industrial complex and convict leasing. So it gets extremely infuriating because they have and these are the same people that are the facts don't care about your feelings people, but the arguments that they make about their ideology are completely from emotion. 1000% from emotion. You cannot have a discussion about socialism with these people without them getting super fucking pissed, super mauling, right? Because because they know subconsciously that they have no justification for anything that they believe. They just have also been propagandized to think that as long as you stand for something, no matter how fucking silly it is, the harder you stand for it, the more honorable and more respectable that is, right? Communism, yeah. So, hold on. What are you saying is also communism, Fade Runner? Because communism is communal ownership. It's not about the fact that you don't own anything individually. It's about the fact that collectively, us, the community, we all own it and can all use it, right? That's why like dumbasses talking about how like under communism they'll come to take your toothbrush, because they don't understand the difference between private property and personal property, right? When they hear that the under a communist society, the government or whatever governing body would come and assure that people can't hoard land and have acres of land that goes unused while people live on the streets in tents and shit, right? They think that's the same as the government coming in and fucking snatching your toothbrush and telling you you can't beat your dick with the door closed anymore. You have to beat your dick with the door open from now on. What I describe as socialism in government terms, government owns everything, everyone poor. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and they don't understand the difference between socialism and communism. It's all good. The stream is probably hella slow. I'm just noticing that it's hella late. But yeah, there's also the lack of understanding about the difference between socialism and communism, right? Because they think socialism equals communism and communism is Stalin, USSR, everybody's poor, everybody's eating fucking dirt. There's executions and fucking, North Korea. That's literally what dude said to me. I was like, you don't know what socialism is. He's like, yeah, hell yeah, I know what socialism is. What about Cuba? What about Venezuela? all the Fox News shit. And I'm like, my friend, do you think that those countries are fucked up because of socialism? Or you think they're fucked up because the most powerful country in the history of the fucking planet has placed embargoes upon them to where that they cannot participate in global trade? Which of those things do you think is more of an impact of the material conditions of the people in those countries? Maybe it's a little column A, column B. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a little nuance to the conversation. Maybe. Or, socialism bad, America good. Freedom. Freedom, brother. I love my freedom. I love the freedom to choose homelessness or fucking giving my entire fucking paycheck to my landlord, brother. That's freedom. I love the freedom to choose between Pepsi or Coke, brother. I love being able to choose between having teeth or not having teeth, brother. I love that freedom, brother. But anyway, I got sidetracked. Let's talk about Keith Davis Jr. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean to do that. The VOD is probably now going to get blamed for gore or whatever, especially on YouTube, because of the picture of what the police did to this guy, funnily enough. But let's watch this, because this looks interesting, and I have not watched it yet.
Leaders traveled all New at 6, Maryland civil rights leaders traveled all across the Eastern Shore today on a bus tour to remind Marylanders of the need to eliminate systemic racism and police misconduct. Stetson Miller tells us more about what kind of changes they want to see addressed about these inequalities in our state.
This is a bus tour on a mission, traveling over 100 miles across Maryland's Eastern Shore on Monday to send the message that change needs to happen now to address systematic racism and express concerns about the recent violent teen arrests on the boardwalk in Ocean City.
We are mobilizing, organizing, energizing the community to make it crystal clear what happened in Ocean City, Maryland is unacceptable.
A group of black teens were arrested in June for vaping, including one who was repeatedly kneed by Ocean City police.
There is absolutely no reason for that.
It's just one example of racial injustice and police misconduct that's happened here. They want people to know they won't stand for it.
We're going from one city along Maryland's Eastern Shore, stopping and reminding people that in Ocean City, Maryland, that what occurred there was not an aberration.
The tour is
He's absolutely correct.
Rides of the 1960s, which were designed to highlight racial inequities in the South. This group has the same goal. They made stops in towns from Annapolis to Ocean City so they can voice their concerns about the way the teens in the boardwalk and other African Americans have been treated.
We have to stand up for what is wrong, regardless who does it. So that's why it was important.
And civil rights leaders are meeting with Ocean City Mayor Rick Meehan this evening and are hoping that this tour will start to change some of the policies that they say are causing systematic racism. In Cambridge, Stetson Miller for WJZ.
So that's cool. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'll briefly...
people have will.
Oh my God, this is a dumpster fire too. I don't even want to get into that tonight, but I'll briefly run down the events of what happened to Keith Davis Jr. There was a robbery that took place. Keith Davis Jr. was walking on the sidewalk, as one might do, when he heard someone yell, "Gun," which prompted Keith Davis Jr. to take off running, as one might do when you hear the word gun and you see other people running. The police then chased Keith Davis, and he took shelter inside of a garage, and the police then shot at him 44 times, struck him 3 times, once in the face, and then proceeded to take him to jail, where he has been tried for both the robbery and the murder 5 times. And his next trial will be next year. He remains in jail awaiting trial. Every single one of these trials has resulted in either a mistrial or some form or fashion the charges were overturned. This is a fucking travesty of justice, we know, but we also know that black people don't get justice in America because our quote-unquote justice system is designed to turn us into slaves. It's not designed to actually give us justice. So on that note, let's look at we're going to watch this press conference again.
Give thanks that we were all able to make it.
I'm going to fast forward past what she says because I don't really care about what she has to say.
With that, Ms. Delphina.
Hello, everybody. My name is Delphina Yawan, as Ms. Williams said. I'm a community organizer.
The volume's kind of low, sorry.
And I'm also a community member of Baltimore City. All of the community work that I do in this city is about imagining and cultivating a world where this case, Keith Davis Jr., and the violence that he has faced is not possible, not just for Keith, but all of us. My work and my commitment is to a world where nobody gets to be shot at by 4 Baltimore police officers and they see no justice. I'm committed to creating a world where no community member can hear about a case like Keith Davis Jr. and not be moved to act. We cannot be silent because, like Ms. Williams said, Keith Davis Jr. is all of us, right? I hold a special place here. I get to be a supporter of Keith Davis Jr., but I am also, I call them my family member. To Kelly, his wife, and to their 4 beautiful children, who I always bring into this space. Because at the core of it, what people forget is that Keith is also a father, which means for the past 5-6 years, he has been stripped away and completely disconnected from his children. Keith does not get to tuck his children into bed like all of us do. Keith does not get to see his children's first moments like all of us do. Keith's children cannot run into his arms and embrace him and give him a hug like all of us have that opportunity to. He deserves that much. To Baltimore City residents, I urge all of us to once again understand that we cannot remain silent, right? If we allow a precedent to be set with Keith Davis Jr. case, it means that the Baltimore State's Attorney Office can continue to do this again and again and again. Keith Davis Jr. has become the most tried man in U.S. history. How can Baltimore City and our leaders, right, who say that we're committed to justice in a new way, allow for our city to set such a precedent? It is not possible, right? And so what that means is that we must drop the charges. Because Keith is somebody. He is our somebody. He is a community member, and we're asking that he be returned to us. Thank you so much.
It's actually just improbable.
Listen to DeRay McKesson as well, I think.
Civil rights activists, the civil rights.
There we go. I could have just left it. I don't know why I didn't just leave it.
I'm DeRay McKesson, a civil rights activist, a son of Baltimore, and a citizen of Baltimore. I'm involved in this case because the truth is actually just so clear that we don't need to embellish it. I don't need to do anything to it. I just need to show you. And we care about this case because it is a national case, as Delphina said, that there are few people who have been tried for the same crime as many times as Keith Davis has. And I'll talk about 5 buckets, but again, the truth is so clear, and that's why we have props and things to show you that, like, it's already there. The first is that multiple people lied in this case. That we think about the state's attorney herself, Marilyn Mosby. She went on the radio in May of this year and said that Keith Davis is a convicted killer. That is just not true. She knows, like I know, that there have been 4 murder trials, there have been 2 hung juries, and 2 overturned convictions. He has been convicted before, and they have both been overturned. There is no standing conviction. Why did the Baltimore City State's Attorney go on the radio and say that he is a convicted murderer? That is just not true. The second, we think about Detective Beanie in this case. There was a question of how did they even connect the gun between the robbery and the murder? How? Detective Beanie got on the stand and he said that there was an officer, Glenn Johnson, who was in the elevator. And Officer Glenn Johnson told him that, you know what, I saw a gun in my case that you should think about. Here's the best part of that story. Officer Glenn Johnson doesn't exist. What does that even mean? How are we still here? But those are just a handful of the things that are just outright untrue in this case. The second is that there's no real evidence linking Keith Davis to this at all. So prosecutors in a couple of the cases have said on the stand that Keith's DNA is on the Ravens bag, if you know the case. That is also not true. The DNA test comes back inconclusive. That is what the test said, and that is actually what the state's evidence also says. They did what's called probabilistic genotyping that says that there's a probability that Keith's DNA might be on the test. It is a weak probability, and what we learned from experts is that there's a probability that a random person walking down the street, that their DNA is also on the bag. It is not true that Keith's DNA is on that bag, and they have said that as truth. The DNA test from the state does not say that. Every single eyewitness in this case, every eyewitness, including the police, give a description of a person that is not Keith Davis. That is just true. One of the officers who runs and says that he never loses eyesight, he gives a description of a guy with braids. Keith has a fade. The other officer says that the guy I'm chasing has glasses on, dark glasses. Keith didn't have glasses on that day. The guy who gets carjacked says that the person who carjacked him had plaids. That's not Keith Davis. Every single person who sees a photo array in this case and is asked to choose the person who is the suspect does not choose Keith Davis. Every single one of them. Now the third is that the evidence, like what the state's attorney's office has said is the best evidence in this case, is also flimsy. And again, you don't need to believe me. It is actually just in the transcripts. I'll show you one, and one is, this is the testimony that is between the firearms examiner and the lawyer. And we can just go over it. So again, I'll repeat my question. Your testimony as you measured, as it measured the shell casings to match them to the gun. He says, no, ma'am. You did not measure anything on the shell casings? No, ma'am. Okay, so you eyeballed it? Yes, ma'am. The idea that somebody could be facing 50 years in jail and the firearms examiner eyeballed it, I mean, that just can't be good enough. At a different part of the trial, when they say, did you take notes? He says no. Did you take photographs? He says no. How are we here? I don't have this pulled out as a pullout, but the fingerprint analyst too. Did you take notes? She says, we're too busy in Baltimore City to take notes. How? She describes an elaborate process of matching the fingerprint to the gun. And then on the stand, the lawyer says, well, it looks like you went to evidence control, picked up the gun, went back to your office, did the process, and took it back to evidence control in 6 minutes. And she's like, I guess that's true. And you're like, again, how are we here? The best evidence in this case is no evidence at all. And one of the last things I'll say is that the reason that we care about this is not only about Keith Davis, but it is about how many other people in this city are Keith Davis too. How many other people are facing charges because the fingerprint examiner didn't have time to take notes? How many other people are facing charges because the ballistics expert eyeballed it? What does that even mean? So the demand, as Ms. Williams said, is to drop the charges. That is the first demand. There also needs to be a deep look into the forensic practices of the Baltimore City Police Department. How many other people are facing incredible sentences when the truth is actually just clear? And the very last thing I'll say is another pullout that we have. And this to me is always the most shocking thing of the entire case. And I'll just go right here. Do you have any evidence whatsoever that indicates that the K5, which is the gun in question, was fired? No, ma'am. How is there a murder if the gun was never fired? I don't know. Now today, what we have released in the timing, of this press conference is we've cataloged over 200 inconsistencies, lies, and problems across all 5 trials. You will see when you go to the website, keithdavisjr.com, you will be able to see not only a description, but you'll be able to click and see the transcript for yourself. We have nothing to hide. The truth is actually damning enough in this case. I'll stop here. I'll turn it over to Kelly Davis, the wife of Keith Davis Jr.
Thank you guys for being here. This has been a journey. It has not been a sprint. It has been a marathon, and it seems to be continuing to be that. Keith is in a cage right now. Right now. It is imminent that we continue to fight. It is imminent because he is a human being. He's a person. Like she said, he's my somebody. Today is my birthday. I'm not with my husband. I'm here with you all. Sunday is my wedding anniversary. I will wake up without my husband still. It should not take this much. It should not have taken 6 years to free a man. It should not have taken 6 years to fight against a narrative from this city when they couldn't be more wrong about my husband, who is the most gentle, the most loving, the most peaceful person I've ever met in my life. And it is why I advocate for him and I fight for him the way that I do. Because I know who he is, and he has been failed by each agency and entity in this entire city. And I will continue to do so until he is brought back home, because he has suffered from the moment those shots were shot at him and hit him. He languished in prison for a crime that he did not commit, and he has suffered tremendously through 5 trials, overall 6. Keith will be the second man in American history to ever be tried this many times. When I think about the accomplishments that I wanted to be there to witness of my husband, that is not one of them. I ask that when you write your stories, when you inform the public and the press, that you keep this in mind. These inconsistencies come from the state's case. For 6 years, I've just needed people to listen to me, to hear, to see for themselves. And I'm so grateful to the support that I now have, and I'm so grateful for the people who look with their own eyes, who did not take my word for it, because after all, I'm just the wife, right? It's easy to discount, but saw for themselves. And like DeRay has said, the truth is here. There's nothing else. It's the strongest thing possible. So now I'm asking that you all also see with your own eyes and stand up, so that we are not doing this 20 years later when Keith is free. That we're not outside at a podium after he is sat in jail for decades. Because right now, this is happening right now in front of you. He is a person, he is a husband, he is a father, he is a son. We miss him, we need him, we love him, and we will never stop fighting until he's home with us. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Shout out to them. This whole support system. They've been fighting this whole time. Never once gave up. Never once thought that defeat was even an option. And it isn't. Like she said, we got to keep pushing so that when he does go free, because he will go free one day, we got to make sure that day is not 20 years in the future. Free Keith Davis till it's backwards. That's all I really got to say about that. I'm going to continue to keep talking about this because I think it's important, like I said. And, yeah, shit's disgusting, man. Abolish the police. Abolish the police. The criminal justice system is racist. You know the vibes. You know what you came to this channel for. Real quick before I end, because I am going to end it on that note. This is interesting. I had Twitter, which was a bad idea, but I had Twitter open in my right screen here, and I had noticed that Tucker Tantrum is a hashtag that recently started trending. So let's check out some of these Tucker Tantrum tweets. So this is Representative Eric Swalwell, who some of you might remember from the July 6th impeachment trial of Donald Trump. But this is him tweeting, after years of lying about me and my family, Tucker Carlson is losing his mind that I won't return his calls. Sorry, Tucker, I'm just not that into you. Who knows what he'll lie about next? Eric, it's Tucker Carlson. Please give me a call on this number. Tucker, I'm hesitant to do that. You falsely smeared my wife on Tuesday and she's getting death threats. That's way out of bounds. She's a pregnant mom of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Hit me all you like, but to go after her, that's just wrong. And Tucker just replied with the word coward. And my man's, he should have just put his phone number out there. That would have been the real Chad move. That would have been the super flex if Eric Swalwell just fucking doxed Tucker Carlson, but can't do that as representative, I guess. So in April, Tucker Carlson told his viewers to confront people wearing masks outdoors, as was a reply to a tweet about a breast cancer patient got maced, punched, and verbally abused by anti-maskers outside a breast cancer clinic in LA. The anti-maskers were protesting the clinic's mask requirement. So I guess that's what Jelani was talking about earlier. That shit is the Mad fucking Max Thunderdome out there. Wild. So I guess that's that on that. And that's all I got for the news for today. Hold on, I'll show you this really quick before, because this is funny. Tucker tantrum happens when you ask if he's vaccinated. He just Hipaa. That's funny. So that's all I got for the news for tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone. Big shout out to Big Richie Lizzie. Big shout out to Fade Runner. Big shout out to Kuma. Big shout out to Algal. Big shout out to Geninator. Shout out my brother Castle Kingside. Thank you for coming through. Shout out to Jelani. Thanks for coming and hanging out as well. Shout out to everyone I missed. And yeah, I'll go live again in about 15 minutes. I'll go live again at midnight for the community Koth. If you want to play some Mortal Kombat with me or watch me play Mortal Kombat, I will do that at midnight tonight. I just wanted to do the Keith Davis thing and all of the news I had going on. I went kind of long today, so for that I apologize, but not really, because I'm not in this shit just to play video games and be cool and be the funny guy, right? I'm also here to kind of make some shit happen a little bit, maybe inform a little bit, maybe spark you to take action a little bit. But with that said, I'm out for now. Thanks, y'all. If you want to check me out, play some Mortal Kombat in about 15 minutes. I'll see you then. If you don't like video games, I will just see you guys on Monday then. Monday, same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is a New York time through here. Any of these places you see here on my left. Also just straight up endlesscemetery.com. That works well too. Check me out. I'm always here. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you. And be safe, stay healthy.